I heard someone say that Phil Spencer himself was playing the MMO. They had to rip the controller from him. He just couldn't peel himself away from it. He was enjoying it that much, and it got canceled. People are going to scrutinize what comes out after this point, and they're going to say, you canceled Forza for this?
For this?
This is the fourth major mass layoffs at Xbox in the last year and a half. They're laying off the fucking people that are making these games that are the lowest on the totem pole, and they're not the people deciding these things that are making games good or bad anyways.
Xbox, Big Phil Spencer made headlines this week. Clyde, I know you got some thoughts about this.
I do.
Xbox slash Microsoft slash Phil Spencer have gone on a layoff and cancellation spree. I'll list off the cancellation. I don't know if I missed any. I just looked at like these are the ones that were listed in an article that I read. So games that were cancelled was, first off, and like most importantly for me, I think, of the things on this list, was the Perfect Dark remake, which had a really cool trailer. I think it's rumored that the trailer's like completely fake, as in like not real gameplay. But even if it is, if that trailer was meant to represent the vision for the game, first off, I don't agree with like CGI faking gameplay. I'm just putting that out there. I don't agree with that. I think that's a bad decision if that's true. But if that was a vision for how that remaster was supposed to look, that looked cool as fuck. That's genuinely one of the more notable things that I remember from Xbox of recent years, trailer-wise anyway. So seeing that got cancelled, I was shocked, because I was like, even from a business perspective, that doesn't really make much sense, because remakes and remasters are really in right now, and Perfect Dark seems like the perfect, no pun intended, perfect candidate to come back in a remake of that style. I'm very surprised it got cancelled. Forza Motorsport, yeah, I like the Forza Horizon games, which is like the open world, like custom cars version. Forza Motorsports is specifically like competition racing. Forza Motorsports, the competition racing side, is completely cancelled. They're never going to release those games again, and instead the studio got cut by 50%, so presumably the people working on Forza Motorsports mainly laid off, and they are now only going to release Forza Horizon games in the future, I assume because they make way more money. At least they're the only ones that I see people playing. I do know some people who are fans of motorsports, though. Some couple of my friends that are really into got like the full racing setup. There was a new MMO in development. I think it was only existed under a code name, but a new MMO from the Elder Scrolls Online people. They were making an entire new game. Well, they're not anymore. It's been cancelled.
I heard someone say that Phil Spencer himself was playing the MMO. They had to rip the controller from him. He just couldn't peel himself away from it. He was enjoying it that much, and it got canceled. Like, it makes me wonder, like, and this is going to be scrutinized so much. These franchises, Perfect Dark, Forza, and I don't know what the MMO was, but Elder Scrolls related. You know, these, and a time when Hollywood, you know, is pulling out sequels from every crevice they can because, you know, a recognizable name is worth so much more than something random. Like these are actual series, you know, these are guaranteed to get some sort of player base already, right? To dump these series, people are going to scrutinize what comes out after this point, and they're going to say, you canceled Forza for this?
For this?
Right. Yeah. Like you couldn't keep development on, you know, this game, just because, or like Perfect Dark, you know, it was so huge, like such a big following, like such a cherished memory for so many people, and you dodged Perfect Dark for this because it's gonna pop up. They're gonna release some stinkers. They're gonna come out, and people are gonna be like, why wasn't this the thing that was canceled, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Sony and Concord, like I remember they canceled like one or two things for that, didn't they? I forget what it was, but I remember they actually had some series that they were pulling up from the bowels of hell, you know, that hadn't had a sequel in forever, and it got canned because they're putting so many resources into this game, and now it's gone just because, you know, they wanted to save some money, and well, now they just wasted it. And I feel like it's just history repeating itself at this point, right?
Yeah. You mentioned that Phil Spencer had to get peeled away from the new ESO game. Related to that, I saw a really funny tweet. Well, it is funny, but it's funny in a sadistic way because obviously these layoffs aren't really funny. It's people's lives potentially being damaged. But at the time of announcing the layoffs at the time that it was announced that some of the Indiana Jones, which is just crazy by the way, some of the Indiana Jones developers were laid off. at the time of that announcement, that motherfucker Phil Spencer was playing Indiana Jones on his Xbox account. I saw some comments that were like, bro's checking the credits to make sure he didn't miss anyone.
Oh, that is a good comment.
That's good. That's really
made
good.
that
man.
comment. That is snaps. That is a good ass comment, bro. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Leave it to the
I
internet
gotta
to
say-
come with the best fucking takes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was
That's
actually playing that or if it was like probably his kids or something. I don't fucking know. But either way, that was unintentionally funny. I don't know who Romero Games is. I don't know if that's a known studio or not. Studio called Romero Games, and they were making an FPS game for Xbox, and it got canned. In terms of layoffs, so the initiative obviously they're completely closed. That was the people who were developing the Perfect Dark remake. Halo Studios, no surprise there. Microsoft have been trying to phase Halo out of the limelight for a long time now. Turn 10, Forza cut by 50%, as I mentioned before. ZeniMax, which is the Elder Scrolls Online company, laid off obviously. Raven, High Moon, and Sledgehammer are all the COD kind of floater developers. They kind of work on all of the Call of Duty games. So they all got struck with major layoffs. Also, Blizzard, apparently the Warcraft Rumble, which is a mobile game, ended support and they were all laid off. But that's a lot of people. This amounts to a lot of people losing jobs. Clyde, do you have burning thoughts? I can't tell if you're really angry or really depressed over there.
Oh no, I'm extremely seethingly angry.
Oh my goodness.
I am just, first of all, I mean, we have to just establish the context for these layoffs. This is the fourth major mass layoffs at Xbox in the last year and a half. They're laying off the fucking people that are making these games that are get the lowest on the totem pole and that they're not the people deciding these things that are making games good or bad anyway. So it's to say that there are flames coming out of the side of my face is an understatement. I am so angry at the situation, and it's like Phil Spencer has had the audacity to come out this week and issue statements like, we think this is going to be for the good of the games industry, and this is good for the future of Xbox, and we have so many great games we're so excited to show off. And it's like, damn, dude, you just laid off thousands of people, a track record of laying off potentially thousands and thousands of more over the last year and a half, and you have the audacity to come out and tell people this is for the good of the games industry, and AI tools are helping advance the games industry. It makes me sick to my stomach, man. It makes my blood boil. It makes my tummy hurt. My tummy's grumbling, and I'm not happy about it.
When's the last time you heard about a video game executive taking a dock in his pay to keep the company going? I think I may have heard it like once. I don't know if it was like Nintendo or something.
Right.
But one company did that once, and it was just shocking that they did it, and people loved it. But yeah, most of the time it's like you said, the executives, the people who actually made the decision to even start the development on this game in the first place, they aren't taking any of the blame, and the people who are working on it, are the ones who suffer. And I know it's sort of a sunken cost fallacy, but like these games, when you just stop the production, there's all this work that's been put into it, and then you're just canceling it out. It's nothing comes of it, right? Like it's just gone. It never gets completed. Like 99% of the time, it's just lost to time. And like, how much more would it take just to complete it? And then the money hungry executive, you get to make your money because it gets to it gets to actually get out there and get bought. How terrible is it that that you got these games that are actually good, and they will sell and they will make money. You can recoup some of that money back, but instead you're just dumping it all. You're completely just abandoning it, and you're wasting your own money doing that.
It's just insane. We've seen this again and again in the industry, where big publishers go to development studios and they either tell them, you got to change it, or we're not going to fund you, or we're not going to do it. The biggest one from this generation is Dark Souls, right? Like, Dark Souls was incredibly difficult, and Sony went to them very early in their development cycle and said, this game's way too hard. No one will want to play this. No one will want to adopt this. And lo and behold, FromSoft proved them wrong. They proved the world wrong, but only because they had enough faith to bankroll themselves and get that game to production and get it in the hands of gamers. But nowadays we have companies that are at the top, these executives that are at the top making these huge decisions.
Especially with Perfect Dark, where I think the trailer looked really cool. It's so sad that the people spent so much time at like blood, sweat, and tears on it, and it's not going to see the light of day. It's genuinely upsetting. It really is.
Yeah. And it's sick that the people that are making these cancellations are totally divorced from the games themselves. Like, imagine if you're at your job, right? You're doing your job, you're focused on your day-to-day things, and someone that, some publisher that bankrolls your company comes in someday and goes, we don't like what you're doing, so you're fired and you're let go and you get a severance package and this whole thing is canceled. And it's like, you're not even here. Like, you're not even on the ground. You don't know me. You don't know what we're making, and you don't even care about what we're making. It's like, it's just insane to me that these publishers can just, I understand they're footing the bill for a lot of these development costs, and that is a valid problem, that modern game development is way too high. The development cost of games is way too high, but the fault of that does not lie in the artists and the writers and the coders. It is not their fault that studios are mismanaged, or they haven't done their research to see what will sell in the market, or that their number on the graph isn't going up in the exact right way at the exact right time.
I mean, remember when studios could make games that weren't successful, and they weren't afraid
it just wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like
they just went on to the next game.
Just went on to the next game, yeah.
And how many games were there that came out that the developers were like, this probably won't be that good, so whatever. And it comes out and it's amazing, and it shocks them, and was it Balatro, the poker style game that's just exploded? It was just some dude who was just like made a game in his free time, and like he was just making it. He just finished it just so he can move on to make the next game. Like he was just doing it. He didn't expect anything from it. It was just a little project he did, and he was completely shocked by how well it worked. I feel like it's just that, but on a larger scale. Like, you don't even know how well some of these will work until they actually get out. It's like they're just not willing to take any risk anymore, and it goes back to the whole thing where, like, kind of like Hollywood has to pull out the sequels now because they don't want to take risks on new IPs or anything. And like now game companies, they see anything wrong with it and it's just yawn. And
I want to say, Peter, because you just mentioned this, like your point of like how game studios used to be able to recover from a fall, and now that with game costs being what they are, that is not the reality we live in. I want to say I'm a huge fan. I don't know, have either of y'all played Dishonored? Do y'all know the game's Dishonored? It's like a teleporty stealth. Okay. Mm-hmm. I love Dishonored. I'm a huge Dishonored fan. I love Dishonored 1. I love Dishonored 2. I love Death of the Outsider. Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider did not sell very well. They were not huge commercial successes. And that franchise is kind of in a cooler right now. But Arcane Studios, they've released some games that have been hits and misses, but we're now in a situation where if I ever want for there to be a Dishonored 3 someday, I have to root for all of their projects, whether or not I care about them, because one misstep can be fatal. Like, they're working on a Blade game right now. Goodness knows how much money they've sunk into this Blade game. It is a ton of money. I'm sure just in licensing, it's probably a crazy amount of money. I don't care about Blade. I'm not all into that vampires unless it's Twilight. I'm not there. So, like, but I am in the background rooting for Blade. I'm like, go Blade, go, be successful, and then make Dishonored 3. That is my only hope of getting Dishonored 3 at this point. And it's warped. It sucks, these kinds of studio domino effects falling down.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Dark Souls, and that's a very good example. Dark Souls, pretty successful game. And then what happened after it? Dark Souls 2. I don't know what its sales were, but I know for a fact that the community doesn't really like that much, and I agree. It's without Dark Souls 2, we wouldn't have Dark Souls 3. Without Dark Souls 3, we wouldn't have had Elden Ring.
And guess what Dark Souls 2 has? A thriving community of players who love it because they released it, and because they didn't, and because it still exists and it still has multiplayer support.
Yeah. But yes, that is the point we were making earlier, which is like, if they had just pulled that offline because it was a flop, then no one would have, the franchise would have died then and there. And that's now where Dishonored is at, is like, man, I really want more steampunk teleporting.
Can you imagine? If they pulled Dark Souls 2 and it was just dead right there. That was the last thing we have to remember it of. Like,
that'd be horrible.
Yeah.
The worst timeline objectively. Well, honestly, sadly, there were probably Dark Souls 2s that were canceled the last year and a half at Microsoft. There was that studio's Dark Souls 2 that will now never see the light of day because some
undoubtedly.
Yeah, Xbox said, "Oh, they're not profitable enough, or they're not including enough microtransactions in their roadmap." So screw it. Like, well, damn, dude, you're not even looking at the games.
That's
yeah,
how I
crazy.
feel about Perfect Dark. Like, we almost had the timeline where people are like sitting down playing a remake of a classic. Like, you know, just
Right.
like young people like discovering that franchise, and that future just got snapped by Thanos.
What if the company who made Concord went on to make like this actually amazing game after it? What if Concord 2 was actually like one of the best games ever, man? Like, holy crap. We needed to suffer through Concord 1 to get to the real good stuff. They needed to find out what didn't work to know what to fix it. Like I mean, that applies to a lot of stuff, but really just I think the main thing is like you can't learn from it if you just wipe it from existence, you know? You can't find out whether, you know, this would have worked or that would have worked or how this would have actually went through. You know, instead you're just relying on some executive with a pen stroke who's like, I don't really like this one as much as this one, so you're gone.
In the world of tech, we see this all the time. Like think of every major platform you can think of, like from Reddit to Wikipedia, Facebook. All of the people who made those made shittier versions of those that didn't succeed, but they learned from the shittier versions.
That's the whole point of making games, is that, you know, you're just making them for people to enjoy, and sometimes they don't enjoy them as much, and honestly, you really don't know. Like just like making content on YouTube, you know, you really don't know how many people are going to enjoy it until it's out there and you can actually see, because a lot of times you have something that you really worked hard on and you like it and you're like, this is going to do it. You put it out and it's crap. And then there's things that you just kind of rush out, like I'll just put this out so it's done, and then it explodes for God knows why, you know.
I want more than anything, and I know this is just a naive, desperate hope, but I just wish there was some accountability in this space, and I wish that the people at the top were facing some of the penalties here. Like it bums me out that the people we routinely see get let go and sent away and shamed are the people who didn't make these decisions, and it just sucks. Just once I'd love to read the headline, like you said, Peter, like of an executive taking a pay cut and saying, "Hey, I just laid off 1,000, 2,000 people. I'm taking $1 salary this year. I've got 4." Like Phil Spencer's got 4 vacation homes, bro. This guy is so freaking loaded, and it's like, where is the accountability? And then to have the audacity to say that, but even though we were doing these layoffs, we think the industry is moving in a good direction. Bro, if you think 4 mass layoffs in a year and a half is a good direction, you are not paying attention, Phil Spencer. I don't know what copium you are on. We can just be real. There is a problem here. AI is removing jobs. You know, ballooning game development costs are way too high. Talent is expensive and limited, but it's desired. It's like there's so many problems that actually need to be addressed. And him just parroting like, Xbox has a bright future ahead of it. Bro, I don't know that the people working in your office believe that, dude. Do you really believe that? Like, it's just crazy. It's wild to me. Like, this is so random that we have a totem by our Wi-Fi router. This, like, we got this for like a
Bro,
what?
That looks like some ritualistic murder weapon. Like, I feel like I'm about to be sacrificed.
We were at like a home goods store and it was on super clearance for like $2, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but we need it in our home. And now every time there's layoffs, I just high five Phil Spencer. Great job, bro. You did a great job at work today. Let's go, bro.
It looks so warm.
Some ancestral spirit.
It is warm. It is so warm. That's how many layoffs there have been, bro.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Oh my god.
Like Sean is like, I was not expecting unhinged Clyde this afternoon.
Kudos to the prop department.
Yeah, like Jesus. What are you gonna pull out next? Like, God.
Right. Oh, speaking of pulling out horrible things.
No.
I'm just kidding.